If I tell you that a big corporation treats its workers like shit, you'll probably just roll your eyes at me and say, well, yeah, no shit. At this point, it's pretty much expected for massive corporations to treat their workers like dogs. But Crunchyroll stands out even among them because not only do they treat their workers like dogs, they practice bestiality. They hold them down and fuck them in the ass. Now, in this video, I don't really plan on talking about how Crunchyroll is a shitty service, which it is. It's an anime exclusive streaming service that does not even have all that impressive of a roster of anime. Now, I know it's not possible for one service to have literally every anime ever made, but that doesn't excuse the region locking. Many shows that are available on Crunchyroll are just not available in specific regions. And last but not the least, the servers are just dog shit. Every time a popular anime airs and a bunch of people are watching, the servers just go down. Crunchyroll being a terrible service could be its own video. What I want to focus on is how they treat their workers. Now, they treat many different classes of workers like shit, particularly translators, which I'll talk about later. But for this video, I'm going to focus on one person, and that is Kyle McCarly, who is the English voice actor of Mob from Mob Psycho 100. He was fired from his role because of a reason that is just goofy. Now, a few of you are definitely big, smart boys who are saying, huh, so a dub voice actor got fired, who cares? I watched the Japanese version, which is superior. Yeah, that's an incredibly brave take. These people saying that dubs suck is on the same level as Abraham Lincoln saying that slavery is bad. So if you come to my house, I'll personally give you a pat on the back and maybe even an over-the-pants hands job. But please don't type that in this comment section. So take your sub versus dub opinions and go to Twitter or maybe my Animalist forums. Just don't do it in my comment section. And just for the record, I have watched Mob Psycho 100's dub. I have watched Mob Psycho 100 season 1 and 2 totally around 6 times. And 2 of those times I watched it in the dub. And while I do prefer the Japanese voice acting, the main characters for the dub was really good. Reagan's dub voice actor in particular was amazing and on par with his Japanese voice actor. Delivering comedic lines is really difficult in the dub, especially because the lip sync is made to match the Japanese lines. But Chris does such an incredible job as Reagan. Every single joke lands and he just plays the character perfectly. Self-defense rush! And Kyle's role as Mob is also really good. I watched Kyle's video where he talks about this subject and I could not hear Mob's voice at all. And Mob himself just turns into a completely different character every time a specific type of explosion happens with a specific emotion, and his voice always fits Mob. Kyle is a really good voice actor.
Can you feel it? Rage burning in me.
The reason Kyle was fired. The meat of the situation is the interaction of unions with corporations. Kyle is part of one such union and it's called a SAG-AFTRA union. Just like any union, it's made to protect the workers. SAG-AFTRA contracts give these voice actors the ability to collectively bargain and negotiate with these massive corporations. It can be related to a bunch of things like how much money they're paid, how long their work hours are going to be, how stressful that work is going to be, and most importantly, health insurance. The health of voice actors is something that is severely overlooked. These guys are like screaming so much in their roles just because of the nature of anime. Take Yuki Kaji for example. I thought that man was going to rip his arm off. And recently with the scene where Eren breaks free, I made a meme about that. You can watch it here. It's a pretty shitty meme. But anyway, he screamed so hard that he almost lost his voice. So health insurance for voice actors is something really important. And you can't expect to get health benefits if you're not part of a union. If you just single person go and ask for health benefits for your role, they're just gonna point at you, make fun of you and laugh. And that is really why unionization is so important. English voice actors are freelancers, just like animators. They do what they do because they're passionate about it. And they're fine with doing it as long as they can meet their basic day-to-day necessities with the money that they get from it. And when a union collaborates with a massive corporation, it is supposed to be a win-win situation. In this case, the voice actors get a better working conditions, better pay, health insurance, etc. And Crunchyroll gets connections with entire unions. It's pretty much a contract that guarantees a steady flow of talented voice actors. But Crunchyroll refuses to work with people under SAG-AFTRA contracts because they want to push around their workers. They want to treat them like shit. With Kyle making noise about this, a lot of heinous stuff came to the surface. One such thing was with Aneris. Aneris is a voice actor who worked on Jujutsu Kaisen Zero movie. I just have to get this out of the way. Aneris is like the coolest fucking name ever. So like props to Aneris' parents for naming her that. The name sounds fantastical, like Aneris Targaryen or some shit. It's so cool. But anyway, Aneris was the English voice actor for Rika-chan from Jujutsu Kaisen Zero movie. Rika-chan is a pretty important component of the movie because the entire character arc of the main character revolves around Rika. And she was flat out paid $150 for voicing Rika in a movie. It's not funny. The reason I'm laughing is because this whole situation is so goofy with how cartoonishly evil Crunchyroll is, which is probably what I'm going to use as a title now that I think of it. That's a pretty good title. A voice actor for a movie that made $196 million worldwide and $30 million in US was paid $150 for her role in that movie. And a bunch of other voice actors who worked on Jujutsu Kaisen Zero were paid $300, which is still a ridiculously low sum of money. Like if Aneris was working unionated on Jujutsu Kaisen Zero, they wouldn't just flat out pay her $150 and be done with it. They'd have to accept the terms of the union that she's a part of and then have a minimum wage accordingly. Now, I don't know if she knew that she was gonna be paid really low and still accepted the job, but I don't think that's what happened. I don't think that she even knew how much she was gonna get paid. I'm assuming it went something like this.
$100. The ad said 3,000.
I missed the part where that's my problem.
But you might be thinking, well, they treat animators even worse, right? Getting $150 for an animator would be like 6 cuts of really impressive animation, especially for a movie because it's going to be complex storyboarding, so the animation is going to be harder. But unlike animators, with voice actors, there's a little bit more commitment. Animators can work from home, especially with Jujutsu Kaisen being in peak pandemic period. That is probably what happened. Most animators did work from home. But voice actors can't do that. They can't just buy like a fucking $10 mic and record their voice and send it to them. There's more of a commitment there. They have to learn their lines. They have to act it out. They have to go to professional studios, cooperate with their co-workers and voice their lines. And that's worth way more than $150, especially, as I said before, for the voice actors of Rika. Because I'm assuming when you say voice actors of Rika, it's not just limited to Kid Rika. She also probably had to voice the demonic version of Rika. So what Crunchyroll is doing is horrible from just a humane standpoint, but it also makes no sense in a business standpoint because unlike animators, voice actors can talk about this. Voice actors have a voice. People associate characters to voice actors, which is pretty much why Japanese voice actors are like celebrities. This kind of abuse would never happen to them, but Japanese voice actors being celebrities, they have their own share of problems, like they pretty much have to be in character every time they appear in public, but they can't really be pushed around because if they push around, it'll create a lot of noise, and dub voice actors are the same. If they get pushed around, they'll make noise about it, and that's what's happening right now. So Crunchyroll is just going stupid brain. So back to the Kyle situation, you might be thinking, all right, so he's part of a union, Crunchyroll refuses to work with the union, that's it. That's why he was kicked out, right? No, not really. So in the case of Kyle, it's not about money because Kyle, in his video, he says that Crunchyroll was willing to pay him a good amount of money, the same sum that he would have gotten even if the work was unionized. He would sacrifice, however, in working conditions and health benefits and such, but he was still willing to do his role as Mob again without binding Crunchyroll into this union. What Kyle did, however, is use this as an opportunity. He's doing the voice of a character of a pretty big show, so he used his status as an opportunity here. He was willing to work without the SAG-AFTRA contract on Crunchyroll for Mob Psycho Season 3 under the condition that the folks over at Crunchyroll will just sit down and talk to the executives and representatives of SAG-AFTRA and possibly talk about cooking something in the future. Not even now, he's not telling that, I won't work for your shitty show unless you make a bond to my union. Nothing like that. Just a proposal. Just sit down and talk to each other. Maybe something will happen in the future because as I said before, this is a win-win situation for both the corporation and the union. Crunchyroll refused. Now, I'm not saying that Crunchyroll refused to accept the terms that SAG-AFTRA put forth. No. They refused to even communicate with them. They refused to even sit down and talk about it. I'm just thinking about the Crunchyroll execs just listening to Kyle's proposition and then just burning with rage. How dare these workers ask for better working conditions? They would rather kick out the lead voice actor of one of their shows than sit down and then just talk to his union. And if the situation wasn't horrible enough, they made an update talking about the situation, and it's cringeworthy. It's absolutely fucking awful. Crunchyroll is excited to bring fans worldwide the dub for the third season of Mob Psycho 100 Season 3 as a simul-dub, the same day and date as the Japanese broadcast. We'll be producing the English dub at our Dallas production studios, and to accomplish this seamlessly per our production and casting guidelines, we will need to recast some roles. The production and casting guidelines being that the people they're casting need to work non-unionized so that they can push them around, give them horrible pay, and then just exploit them to the absolute limit. We're excited for fans to enjoy the new voice talent and greatly thank any departing cast for their contributions to previous seasons. What the fuck kind of bullshit is that? You kick them out, you spit in their mouth, but also double down on kicking them out and spitting in their mouth. The reason Crunchyroll can do this is because they completely lack competition in this area. What the hell do these voice actors turn to if Crunchyroll doesn't exist? There's nothing. There used to be competition. Funimation used to be a thing. But like Disney said, if you can't beat him, buy him. And that's what Sony did. They bought both Crunchyroll and Funimation, and now it's all gone to shit. Of course, there's no competition officially. There are certain unofficial means of watching anime that is very popular. Me personally, I've only ever used unofficial sources, and I absolutely don't feel bad about it. The subscription fees that I would be paying for Crunchyroll would just be going to Crunchyroll and a little bit to like the producers of the anime, who are also just exploiting their workers. The money that I pay won't be going to animators or voice actors. In fact, if you're paying for these services, it would just increase the official demand, which would just result in more overworking and more exploitation of the people actually making the shows. Not to mention, in some cases, the unofficial sources are just objectively better than the official sources. For example, with Komi Can't Communicate, I'd say 20% of the experience with Komi Can't Communicate is in the subtitles, and the official subtitles were absolutely disgusting. If you want to watch Komi Can't Communicate, it's pretty much a necessity to download a fan-subbed version. Now, as I said before, it's not just voice actors. Crunchyroll also treats translators like shit. And I'm not going to talk a lot about that because the Canepa Effect made 2 really good videos explaining that whole situation. But if I had to briefly talk about it, the gist of the situation is pretty obvious. Crunchyroll pays the translators like shit. I bet you didn't see that coming. And just like with animators in the anime industry, the amount of effort you put into the work does not result in a better pay. You could be doing translations for an episode of One Piece where there's literally no dialogue, and you might do the translations for an episode from Monogatari, and you'll get paid the same. Like, the level of understanding of Japanese language that you need to translate Monogatari to English is honestly beyond my grasp. Just know that it's a lot of effort. We owe it to these people because without them, we wouldn't even be able to understand our favorite shows. So, what now? Unlike the previous drama situation with Mob Psycho getting removed from Sakugaboru, I said there that I don't know what to do. You can't just go make noise in Twitter. If that whole situation becomes very noisy, Sakugaboru might cease to exist. So that's spreading in very dangerous waters. But in this case, feel free to go to Twitter and make noise, especially support Kyle McCarly, the voice actor of Mob Psycho 100. I'll put his link up here, the video. And I'll also put all of his tweets where he explains how SAG-AFTRA contracts work in the description. Now, I'm not forcing you to go out of your way and cancel your Crunchyroll subscription, although that actually might be the right thing to do, but that is entirely up to you. If you feel indifferent about this whole situation, it's fine. I don't want to guilt you into doing this. However, if I did change your mind and get you to cancel your Crunchyroll subscription, then put on your eye patch, your wooden leg or whatever. We'll sail the 7 seas of unlimited free content. Another disclaimer that I have to put here: don't harass Crunchyroll workers. If you have the contact of someone who works on Crunchyroll, don't just be like, you work for that company that treats its workers like shit. Well, they're also a worker for that said company and they're also being treated like shit. So it makes no fucking sense to do that. It's the same thing that happened with MAPPA, right? People harassing MAPPA workers for ruining Attack on Titan final season when they were actually doing their best with the production schedule given, which was beyond their control. And yeah, that's about it. If you made it this far into the video, leave a like. If you did not like this video, leave a dislike. If you want to see more of this stuff, subscribe. And that's about it. Thanks for the views.